This is PJNET.TV, and this is my perspective and comments. In this video segment of My Perspective and Comments, we cover politics, society here and abroad, and the events of the day that are shaping our nation. PJNET.TV, My Perspective and Comment, coming to you with a worldview, one nation under God. Hello and welcome to My Perspective and Comments. And again, we're going to briefly start out with COVID-19, the China virus, and 18 months plus, and there's still more things going on. We're even talking about over in Israel now a third or even a fourth booster. Yes, boosters, the name of the game it seems like lately. And we're also, right now, the FDA has been talking about who should get the booster and who should not at this point. And, the talk is now that, there are boosters that are being planned to get in people's arms again. So I guess my question is, how many boosters? And when we get down to a booster every week, is that acceptable? So and again, it may not get to that, but the experts have said that that the vaccine efficacy would be good for 8 months, and then they've revised that down, and now we're talking about a booster, and Israel, I believe, has even started talking about a fourth booster. So again, where does it end? And when it comes to COVID, this has been a moving target, and I mean it's moving. So again, at this point, I'm on U-Sensor Tube. So we will be getting into some specifics, but I'm not sure if it's going to be this week. There's been so much things that are accumulating. I think what we may do is not this particular week, but next week we will have a COVID-19 update from. It won't be on U-Sensor Tube, but it will be coming to you on Rumble. And again, when it comes to free speech, I think that a lot of times we can overlook when things happen to other people, especially when these big tech companies are controlling everything. And I think the argument is, well, hey, they're the only game in town. No, they aren't. And until people start to say, wait a minute, they are actually censoring and removing speech. So how long are we going to just sit here and say, okay, well, hey, Google's the only game in town? No, they aren't. Ron DeSantis now is having meetings that are coming through the medium, not YouTube, but Rumble. And his press conferences are coming through via Rumble. So I think it's important that people start thinking, okay, if they're censoring, how long before my subject, my topics, if I bring somebody on or in a conversation setting or an interview setting, and a individual goes through something or comes out of something and it doesn't meet the censors, then you can be shut down like that. And, I think of that, you've probably heard that story of, they came for my neighbor a mile away, and I said nothing. And they came to another neighbor a half a mile away, and I said nothing. And now they're knocking on my door, and there's nobody around to speak up or defend me. And I think that's what we're seeing here now with big tech. Rand Paul, senators doctors, board-certified doctors being silenced by the by Google, or excuse me, by uCensorTube, their parent company Google. So strategies. It would be good for people to say, okay, you know, maybe we do need a strategy in case they come knocking on my door. What available avenues do I have? And there are some alternatives, and it would be wise to say, okay, are there other platforms out there that I could avail myself and to be able to have free speech here in this country? Think about it. Censorship by uCensorTube, parent company Google. And you know, when I that little story here, they, you know, I said nothing when they came, you know, for those people. But when they come knocking on my door, and I've had the sting of uCensorTube, and I had alternatives, but you know, it's there, and the possibility is there. So we will be coming to you on the free speech video platform next week with a lot of things coming out of Israel, and a lot of things becoming in this country when it comes to mask mandates and the Biden administration putting his edicts and his mandates, and we'll be getting into that, and we'll be touching bases on where are these vaccines as far as their efficacy, and are the mRNA vaccines, are they holding up? So we will get into that in the free speech video platform on Rumble. But right now I'd like to talk about, you know, there should be an award of things that get said, stupid things that get said in press conferences or you know, some speeches. And you know, I guess we'll start out with this week's prize. Peter Doocy was interviewing the White House Secretary Jen Psaki regarding the crisis at the border. And yes, I said it, the crisis at the border, where Biden has been saying for what, almost a year now, hey, no crisis, you know, no crisis. And now what do we see here? We have seen right now the headlines are Haitian immigrants rushing the border, coming across on the Texas border. Well, Peter Doocy asks Jen Psaki, you know, what's going on here that these migrants, a lot of our Haitians, there's no proof of vaccine, and you know, what are you doing? What's the administration doing at the border? So, you know, Jen comes up and tries to brush it off and say, well, look, you know, they're not like those foreign nationals that are flying in on planes and they're coming to the U.S. that way for a lengthy stay. No, but these ones coming across the border here in the Texas border, they're not planning on staying. They're only going to be here for a short period of time. Yeah. That's what Jen Psaki, Biden's press secretary, had to say. Oh, nothing to worry about. Then, you know, they're not going to be here for a long time. So, and we'll be talking a bit, or there'll be some more information here further on here in my perspective. Well, we'll have somebody talking about these stays and what spin the Biden administration is trying to lay on the American people. But again, hey, they're not going to be here for a long period of time, you know. So there's a big difference here, you know. And I'm thinking thinking to myself, you know, we've seen Fauci doing tap dances and not knowing herd immunity. If you talk to Fauci, it almost sounded like he didn't even know what it was. You know, what would constitute a natural immunity, and is a natural immunity effective? Looks straight in the camera, dumbfounded, I don't know, out of Fauci's mouth. And then we can think back, you know, things that were said in a press conference that were outright a lie, stupid, whatever you want to call it. But I think the one that takes the prize here, 8 years ago, I think now, she's the Speaker of the House. And it was during the Obama, you know, when it was a big push to bring Obamacare. And Nancy Pelosi gets up, and she's got the nerve to look out into the stage and say, look, and talking to the press reporters, look, we have to pass this health care bill to find out what's in it. Now, is that how legislation's made? You have to pass a bill and then look and see what's been hidden in these bills, and that's the same thing that's going on in this budget bill, this 3.5 trillion that the Democrats are trying to push right now, and guaranteed there's a lot of stuff in there that they're not saying anything about, but when it gets passed, the American people will be shocked what was stuffed in those bills. But again, you know, is it that of the American people, they think the American people are that dull, that dumb, that they can say this crazy, doesn't make sense. And, you know, the American people are going to buy it hook, line, and sinker. And, you know, they've been playing this game for a long time, and it's gotten worse. You know, outrageous. Our so-called professionals, and they don't know herd immunity. They don't know what natural immunity is better than the vaccines. All of a sudden, Fauci's gone dumb, and he can't answer any questions when these questions, probing questions, finally do get directed to him. So there'll be a lot more, especially when it comes to what's going on the southern border. We had Ted Cruz that was strong this past weekend, that was highlighting the fact of the spectacle, the things that were going on there underneath that bridge. And the press, nothing to see here, you know. Hey, Biden, it's not a crisis. But yes, it is, and it was on full display this past weekend, and Senator Cruz was highlighting the fact of what was taking place there, and nobody in the administration is really addressing it. Now, it looks like they have started to, in some cases, you know, sending them back. And as soon as they started doing that, there was a report that that many did the scurrying back to the Mexico border so that they didn't get rounded up, and because there was a threat that the Biden administration was going to finally, you know, start flying some of these Haitians back. Only problem is, yes, there was a report that was happening, but there's also, the Biden administration is also putting some of them on buses and distributing them to the U.S. Now, which effort is getting the most priority under the Biden administration? Shipping them back on a plane, or just saying, okay, let's just release them into the United States, and, you know, they'll filter out into the communities. And we know where the Biden administration, where their leanings are. And yes, yes, a few shots from the cameras saying, "Oh yeah, they're cracking down. They're sending some Haitians back." But I guarantee that the percentages are off. Are they really sending the majority back home, or are they just saying, "Okay, we've got the photo up here now, disperse out into the United States"? And I think that's what's been taking place. So they'll definitely, this news isn't going away. But I would point out that we have this crisis on the border has been, Biden gets they, soon as he took office, the caravan said, "Okay, load them up. Biden's in authority over here in the U.S. So hey, send the caravans over." He's already hinted that, come on, we're ready for you, and that message has permeated on the southern border, and that's why we have had a crisis all this year on the southern border. And I appreciate Senator Cruz and others that have been highlighting the fact of what has been taking place over these last 3 weeks. I'd like to talk about Tennessee has been following, or they're going to follow, the federal guidelines, and these federal guidelines are recommending that these monoclonal antibodies, which are effective, and they have been, it's one of the therapeutics, one of the treatments that the FDA has approved. And when anything works, guess what the Biden administration's going to do? Limit it. Okay, now we're only going to send so many here, so many there. And that's exactly what the Biden administration has done. Oh, these work, the monoclonals work. Florida wants to, set up stations to get people to get this treatment. Oh, we got to do something about that. So he didn't outright ban it, but he's controlling the supplies to many of these states. I wonder why. But here, Tennessee health officials are now recommending that only people that the people that are vaccinated, they will not avail themselves of this. This will be for this monoclonal antibody treatment will be for those that are unvaccinated, and they get the priority. So we're told that the vaccinated, that they're protected. Other than, if you look at the news, you look at Israel, you look at some of the high rates of infection in some areas, and we're seeing that the vaccinated are coming in with COVID. And we will be bringing some light again to that issue. Why is this happening, that the vaccinated are getting sick with COVID again, very sick in some instances? But we'll be discussing that not on U-Censor2, but we will be bringing that on the free speech video platform on Rumble. So so we are seeing some states, and that's what it's really going to take, is the states to really put in an act forcefully, if it's a law, or to get their forces, to get their people, their health officials, to put some of these things in place, like they have in Florida there under Governor DeSantis, and making these the monoclonals available for those people to get treated, and they are effective. And here we have a therapeutic that the FDA has approved, so that is good news. Again, I've mentioned a little bit about the issue of the Biden administration basically open arms and on the southern border, and we're seeing the results of that taking place in Del Rio this past the last couple of weeks that they've had. You've seen the reports. But again, we look back here of this past year, we've seen one administrative bumble after another. And now we're starting to hear the economists are talking about inflation again. We're also hearing about food prices. And what we haven't really been hearing anything about, oh yeah, gas prices are going down, food prices are going down, we're finally getting this, the economy's turning around, and we're seeing strength in the economy. But no, we're not. We're hearing from economists concern, inflation concerns. And what are we seeing? You just go into the grocery store and it tells you all you need to know. So a lot of things this past year, we can look back at the Biden administration and say, wait a minute, success or failure? And I think that the conclusion is becoming very clear that the United States has been weakened here in this past year. So I'd like to, at this point, with the Biden administration, we've seen that Biden has pushed for some judicial nominees that Congress has been interviewing, and I'd like us to take a look at. We had Senator Cruz. I guess you might say grilling, or trying to get some information from this nominee for a judicial position, one of Biden's that he's put forth. I think her last name is Sun. I just want you to note, when a senator asks a question, he expects to get an answer. But you're going to see a different mode of communication, and you ask yourself, was his question answered? And Senator John Kennedy also is interviewing this potential nominee and asking similar questions, also trying to get answers to his questions. And I think you'll see the communication back and forth, and you ask yourself, was the question answered? And then we'll have Tucker Carlson, and he will have a take on what we've seen taking place there on the southern border. So at this point, we're going to be starting with the senators, and we'll follow up with Tucker Carlson. Here, take a look.